Oh man. So those of you who know, Tori wrote or he does. I asked him to do the version that my podcast intros with. This is all the band. He's like in 4 bands, and today he gave me a written piece of paper that I can send to YouTube saying I'm allowed to use all of his music. So I'm stoked. So I've got the whole library loaded up. He's one of my favorite artists. But as you can see, we got a few people up here tonight. We got Have It Your Way. Brian's here from Pennsylvania. We'll say outside Pittsburgh. We got Torp from Kentucky. We got Bobby from Louisiana. So we're going to talk about this. The one that I've been working on is the one for Kentucky. I even got the TNC one done. Brian, you're on. Are you? You did rideshare, right?
Yes, I do.
I mean, I don't know if you still do, but you have. Okay, good. Because I wanted to make sure that somebody was up here to when we roll through the bullet points. Because if everything ends up right here, I'm actually sending. The person who's gonna check this is Stephanie Vigil, who's the person who drafted our House bill, and she even said she'll be on next week. So that should be interesting. So because she loves the idea, this is something again. This is a new idea to take this to writing the bill yourself. It'll have to be tweaked out, but if anybody understands how much work you're saving the senator or the House member or whoever you're sending this to, not only an understanding, but remember that a lot of people who want something changed in their state or their city or whatever, they send in just an email saying, I hate this because this. And I mean, a lot of times it's probably run on sentences, all kinds of things. These aides and administrative workers for these senators and House members, they sometimes have 3, 4, 5, depending on how big of constituents they have and the intake and stuff. But these people are basically rolling through this stuff so that when it comes up for a floor vote, they're all having a morning briefing on the 10 things that are going to happen on the floor that morning. So this, I feel like, is a few steps forward in that it's giving you the no here. It's not just an idea that we want you guys to build. Here, it's done. Like, here you go. I mean, they can tweak it out to be how they want, but I mean, like, as we'll go through tonight, I already found some are just few discrepancies, but some that needed to be corrected language for Kentucky, where Torp is, compared to Colorado, where I am. Yeah, let's pull that up.
While you're pulling that up, I'll shoot this in there real quick. I didn't know you could do it online.
Well, okay. So, I mean, it can be done so many ways. The way I'm going to suggest is that first is an email, and on the same, if possible, the same day you send the email, and make sure, as stupid as this might sound, CC yourself on it, not BCC, but CC yourself on it, so that they see you have a copy, even though you would in your sent folder, but that they see you copied yourself. But then I would say take this printed and certify mail it to their office so that they have to sign for that they received it. And I would try and, if possible, I'd try and do those on the same 2 days.
So if I like the draft that you sent me tonight, I can already send it in now?
Well, no, because we got to clean it up a bit.
All right, that's what you said.
Yeah, I already added a few things. I mean, like, and then it still has to be cleaned just in terms of, like, make sure that I got, because, like, you guys don't have a Department of Labor. What is ours? Like, Department of Labor and Statistics. Yours is called, well, here, I'll just grab it. It'll be easier.
If it's Kentucky, it's going to be a funny one.
Well, it has, all the states are different.
I know, but Kentucky is kind of kangaroo. Anyway,
it was well, we'll get to it. Oh wait, there it is. It's called the Kentucky Labor Cabinet.
Oh, damn! I should have known that, but I haven't been a W-2 in like 5 years.
Okay, so I don't know. When I heard it, I was like, oh, it must be because of the whiskey. I don't know.
Well, whiskey plays a factor in everybody's smile at some point.
That's what I'm saying. So, okay, so basically, there's just a few. I'm following the sections, but then we changed around some things and I added some things since what I sent to Torp too on this. And again, I finished the TNC one too. But I mean, this is so the idea here is that we get this cleaned up a little bit more and Torp submits it to, and this is where this is where a little bit of work comes into because we really want somebody who nobody can, as we go through this, I think everybody will see that you can't, how could you disagree with this? Because lawmakers love this. It doesn't ask for much money. I mean, compared to what the alternatives of a Prop 22 or things like that would be, because that involves all kinds of enforcement and craziness. And so you have a much bigger ask, and they know that the unions are based behind those. So that to show this is actually anti-union and about business and keeping the independent contractor status, which I still believe, and I'll say it over and over again, I believe people without the metrics and everything, I believe more drivers drop off the platform than stay on it to play the games. Like if I have a good fishing spot, if Bobby does, if Torp does, and if Brian does all in our areas or in Denver, let's say, we're gonna some people who just sit at McDonald's and are just like, I'll just sit here till I get it, because that's when there's metrics, they're just playing the game. But
Well,
so I mean, if they're just going to sit there,
onboarding?
I mean, I think we've just proven it in the past. You would
Yeah.
have to look it up. I've seen it in the data, but
Like
the
saturation?
offboarding's quicker because people are like, they realize quicker. I can't do this. I'm not making shit.
That goes along with saturation, right? They onboard too many people on purpose, right? That's saturation in my mind.
Right, but I mean, so I guess my thing is, I always I didn't mind the days when there were so many ride shares that there was one every 3 blocks. I just knew where to be, and it always made people call it a night early. But when there's statistics and stuff, or there's even on rideshare side, when there's like gamification, like do 5 rides and we'll give you $100. Brian knows this. You could sit there and do 4 rides. You just watch for the 1 mile ones. Okay. Just do those short ones. And then that 5th one, they're not going to send you for like 3 hours. It's just a way to keep you out on the street. So, I mean, just everything's a damn game.
I'm not arguing with that. There ain't no way that you are wrong on that, because that's exactly how it is for everybody. You'll notice they say, or at least they show in their videos on YouTube, they'll show it. Like, okay, we'll take this one, we'll take that one. I'm doing charity or clown work, whatever it is they say. And then all of a sudden, this big presentation of $69 for 4 miles. It's like, I always go back and want to ask them that I look like a troll when I do it. What was your average then? You took the $60 for 4 miles, but you drove how far for $4 over and over again to get that $60 for 4 miles?
Again, it's just, I mean,
wow.
Bobby knows this good. Bobby lives in a market that's pretty damn consistent for him, and he knows that these metrics trick even veteran people. I usually try and just say it's just the newbies, but it's not. Everybody, even the people who are like, dude, I'm done with the metrics, screw them, I don't need them, I'm just going to play this how I want, they still look. It's still psychological.
You know what it is, Steve, is that I hate to even say it like this, but it doesn't matter like how long you've been doing it or how smart you might be. Desperate people do desperate things. And when the apps know that and they take advantage of it by having all these nonsensical metrics and AR, and they know this because people just know. They take advantage of, they prey on people, and that's why some people say it's predatory moves, because that's what they do. It's like, they see blood in the water like a shark and they just attack. And, it's, I've said for a very long time, because, I started this back in like 2015 ish, give or take. Late 2015 is when I started it kind of full time. And when I first started, there was no like AR requirements. They had the Top Dasher program, but there was no AR metric tied to it. And it was fantastic. It just, the fact that it ever became a thing has always been mind boggling to me, just because it it's so strange to me that you label something as one thing, being an independent contractor, but then on the flip side, you say, oh, well, you're an independent contractor when it's convenient for me. But when it comes to the actual, like what the definition is, they try to ride this fine line of what's legal and what's not. And it's like a game. It's literally no different than going to a casino, putting $100 in a slot and hoping for the best, and you should never make money a game. Like, you're out here to make your money, pay your bills, do whatever you got to do. But it gets to a point where it's like, when is enough enough? You know what I mean? So,
yeah, it's not like
you're
you're a professional poker player.
right.
And we know a few too. That's why I say that. We know Marco Nova, we know Nola, David, and we know Lou is the kingpin of them all, from Long Island Dash experience. I mean, even Marco and David don't play on tables that Lou plays on. So they see them and their thing too. I would consider that a little professional. They actually make good money off that. I think of what Bobby was saying in that term is like the people who are addicted to like finding their only $100 in their pocket every day and going into the casino. It's not like they're good at it. And I'm not saying the rideshare people or gig workers aren't good at it. I'm just saying it's like so short-sighted. It's amazing.
Well, as I listen to this, I wanted to ask Bobby a question real quick. It's super short, I promise, Steve.
What's up?
He mentioned that back in the day that there was top dasher and AR didn't matter. So I'm wondering if were there no metrics at all, or was it just AR? How did you get top dasher without metrics?
Well, you still had to do X amount of deliveries. You still had to have a completion rate, all that, blah 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 blah. But there was no like acceptance rate requirement at all. It didn't exist. Like there was an acceptance rate like thing shown in the app, but it didn't actually like matter. You know what I mean? It was all the other stuff that they took into consideration.
So the AR came later.
Yeah, I was a top dasher for like a year, and then once they added that AR thing, I was like, nope. And that was all she wrote.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I did not know the AR. Was it like? Can you give me an approximate? Because I honestly don't know. Like, how later was it that they came up with the AR?
Maybe a couple of years.
Okay,
it wasn't
that's fair. That's
like,
that. No dates. I just like generally. You did it. Thank you.
Yeah,
I didn't know about that.
Was it that long? I feel like it was like just after the pandemic.
Well, I know, but remember, I started doing this part-time late 2014. Then I went to full-time kind of mid to late 2015. And then the pandemic happened, 4 years later or whatever, 3 or 4 years later. So
I guess my point there was that I feel like the pandemic was a player in them putting in a lot more of this shit.
Yes, absolutely. I absolutely 100%.
I believe that makes me wonder because the pandemic brought drivers more money. In fact,
well, it brought delivery drivers more money. Rideshare came to a screaming halt. You couldn't make $1.
So what I'm wondering is why would they come up during the pandemic when everybody wanted to drive? Because AR is only for people that don't want to drive. It's like if you don't take this garbage, we're not going to give you that trophy. So why would
I think Bobby was onto something too, though. I think that like even the most veteran people, it's kind of like how I see the YouTube drama that I will never get involved in, and I think you guys all know that about me. Like, I think it's like that. I think it's like when times are good, the drama on the drama channels is more fun. I won't say it's gone; it's just more fun. But when everybody's broke as fuck, it is not fun, and it gets very destructive and ruthless. And so I feel like maybe he's right when he says that even some of the veteran people, when they're just starving, when they're like, dude, I mean, it's one thing if I'm having a semi bad day, but I've had 3 bad weeks in a row. They start making bad decisions. They start going, screw it, I'll take this. Maybe I'll get in with something.
That's part of the mindset, right? Yeah.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah.
In 2019 is when they added the acceptance rate. And my conspiracy theory mind is because they knew during the pandemic they were going to get an influx of W-2 people into the independent contracting business that had no idea how independent contracting ship works, and therefore they would see these numbers and think these numbers mattered, and they made them think that it mattered. And that's how they conditioned all these drivers. And you can still hear veteran drivers to this day saying that they have to be platinum in their market, otherwise they can't get on the app.
Yeah, and I think that's about the. I mean, I would also say that before we go any farther, Brian did independent contractorship long before even the 2009 launch of rideshare, just like I did. So he's been independent contractor traditional since before these gig apps too. So, because I know this because I know that Friday the 13th of 2000 was his last W-2 workday. It was a Friday the 13th. How's that for knowledge?
That's fitting.
Yeah. Well, I gotta tell you, man, it's amazing how, and obviously, anything in life, it doesn't matter what it is, but anything in life at some point is going to change and you just have to pivot and make it work for you, right? But it's amazing just how much the space changed from when I first started. Like, just how, if you would have told me 10 years ago that there would be all these crazy acceptance rate metrics and all of these taking so many orders and playing these games and you can't do that, I would be like, well, there's no way, because it just doesn't logically make sense. And I know some people listening might beat me up for what I'm about to say, because I think we've all admitted that at some point we've all tested things, right? Like, we've all wanted to see what would actually happen if we became silver or whatever it's called, right? But the truth of the matter is that every time you take an order that you feel is not valuable, just to
They know they trust.
they know
I
it.
think yeah. Not only do they know it, they highlight that as like, look at the dumbass order he took.
Right. And on top of that, I'm very strongly against this stuff, not only because I believe you're creating chaos in your own life and you may not see it, but you're enabling bad habits for both company and customer. You're telling people it's okay. So it's my example is, if you have a guy, right, and he owns a grass cutting company, and he goes to a neighborhood and he tells 5 houses that he'll cut their grass for $30, and then another guy comes by and says, I'll cut it for 20. If they do generally the same job, most people are going to take the person that's charging less. Therefore, they're diluting their own market and causing it for everyone else to be bad. So every time somebody takes a bad order because they have to keep their AR up, they're diluting their own market and causing themselves to have that problem. It's a driver problem and a company problem, and that is the God's honest truth.
Well, and I think I think all of us on this panel aren't afraid to. And luckily for those that don't know, here in the audio space, it's awesome. We're unregulated. We can say anything we want. We don't have to go, oh, what word should I use here? And I can just be straight up, because there's two different kinds of them. None of us are oblivion to the last couple of years. The issue with people who have been deactivated and gotten illegal accounts, and B, all the illegal accounts, illegal accounts. I think that hurt tremendously over the past. I mean, I know it did in my market. I saw it. Every $2 offer was being taken by a guy with 7 phones. I saw it every day.
I can equate that to the landscaping analogy Bobby made, and that is that we priced ourselves into that market by taking bad orders. It taught the algorithm that it was okay to take those. And
right.
That's why it's important to decline trash, so that it doesn't send it to you, so that you don't take it, because when
exactly.
algorithm.
So at the end of the day, though, I don't know if you would see this the way I do, but let me put this on the table and see if anybody takes a bite. What we're talking about with drivers is taking those $2 jobs. Let's just call it $2. I don't want to get into semantics here. $2 jobs, right? Why are those $2 jobs still on the table after all these years, especially pre-pandemic? My theory is this. Maybe it is a conspiracy theory, but let me check you guys on this, just for answers. Why in the world would DoorDash be so happy about a customer not tipping? Because that customer knows, in my mind, that they'll get that order delivered.
Absolutely.
They will for $2. They don't have to tip. They've been trained that way. It's like, it might be like 20 minutes cold, but I mean, I didn't have to tip.
Well,
Now,
to answer your question, Torp, I don't think the companies care whether a customer tips or not. They just want it delivered, and I think they've proven. The truth is, I think they've proven.
Advertising, Bobby. It's free advertising.
Yeah.
They don't have to spend advertising money. They can just get their customers to say, "I'm going back to DoorDash. It's way cheaper."
No, I get it. I'm saying from a business perspective that like all they want is that order picked up, dropped off. They don't care anything in between. And the truth is, and they might never come out and say this, but their actions speak for they care about one thing: their investors. They don't care about us. They don't care about the customers.
They barely care about the investors. And I'm not kidding.
Right.
I'm not kidding.
About order.
They think they can fake PR prop, but I'll say this though. So like in my market, I think that. So I'm not talking about summer slowdown or anything. I'm just talking about we know when it's slow in our own markets. We know when it's going to be a good weekend, a bad. This is good season. This is going to be slow. That's one thing. But when we first got transparency, I was still going from, let's say I turned DoorDash on and in an hour I'd see 30 offers. Let's say that 25 of them were $2 offers with no tip. They wouldn't usually be all that bad, but let's say 25 were that bad. DoorDash saw me not ever taking those. Brian has seen me live stream this stuff before and after transparency, and I only take $2 a mile, or I only look at it for $2 a mile. You'd think, well, man, you aren't getting anything then, because that's non-existent. It is kind of non-existent. But here's the thing. Why do I need to see? This is a whole nother game now. Are we still oversaturated here? Yes. When I turn on DoorDash now, do I see in the same time, in the same season, whatever, 30 offers in an hour? No, I see 3 to 4, but I'm taking approximately 50-60% of them because they meet my standard of $2 a mile. So they're just not sending me the other 26. So it goes to what Bobby said. They absolutely know what I take, what I don't take, and they know. So because, and I've mentioned this before to I think all of you guys, that data is now like the new brick and mortar businesses. Data centers are the new brick and mortar. So yeah, you might say all these companies don't need to have physical offices or physical buildings. Yeah, they don't. But the data service is like 300% plus of what it used to be. So here in Colorado, and I've mentioned this, that I think they're going to learn at the end of the year, wow, yeah, we didn't like a few things about this, but wow, one thing they're going to notice, wow, did we save on data? Because they don't send me shit anymore. Or, I mean, some of it's not good, but I don't see $2 no tip. That doesn't exist to me anymore. I'm sure they still send them out. But then there's the issue, too, that you guys might not be seeing where, like, I've seen $14 and I think, or whatever it was, I think somebody had said it fell $2 outside of what the TOS says it can pay. But I see the full amount, and then right next to it, I have to see the tip upon taking it. And we'll get into this language for the Kentucky bill in here too, because I've got it in there. But you see the tip to the side and the total right there on the middle. I can't tell you from seeing these transparencies, I've gone, geez, I wonder how many I took thinking there was a tip, because I've seen ones for $14 that I'm going to be paid, and then it says customer tips 0, and it's going 2 miles. Okay, well, what the hell, dude? Because if that wouldn't have shown me that transparency, I would have seen 2 miles, $14. That guy tipped me huge. Awesome. No, he didn't. He didn't tip at all.
Well, if I can give a little bit of a hot take here, Steve, I have a different thought process on the whole tipping, not tipping thing. Obviously, I'm going to advocate that you should tip because they're providing a service for you that, most of the time you can do yourself. So, I'm never going to say not to because that's absurd. However,
Mhm.
I'm not anti taking no tip orders if they meet. I don't care if the base pays $50 and there's no tip. I'm taking a $50 order. Don't care, right? My light bill doesn't care.
Yeah.
So, but when you're taking two, three, four, and I would even argue $5 orders, it's 2025, right?
Yeah.
Things are sky high. Some places gas is ridiculous. The cost of living is sky high. So you have to do what you have to do to make your money, and nobody can tell you not to. But I would argue that if you are more selective, and I've always been, on the side of I truly believe the selecting the best orders and not just taking everything to play with the program is
Yeah.
honestly the best way to consistently and this is another thing, right? One thing I hear all the time is, oh well, if I take these orders I can make good money. But most people don't understand the difference between good money and good profit. There's a big difference. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
just wanted to say
No,
that.
there is. I mean, so look, I mean, let's start rolling through this bill because if any of you have anything to add or think that I've got, because I put this together and then I went through it against Torp State and now it's kind of ready for a cleanup phase. I mean, like I actually got the TNC done too, um,
By the way,
and it wasn't as
I love it.
I did
I
try
love
it
it.
in Grok, so shout out to Tim, Gigwise, because he was like, "Well, try in Grok." I did. I hadn't done it. I hadn't used even the help of Chat GPT the way Gary told me I was going to have to do it, and I did have to do it that way. I had to keep going in and retweaking it. But he had said just try refine, and it's not that easy when you're dealing with this stuff. So, but it was very helpful in locating certain things. So,
Don't forget though, you got to send me a link to the place to send it, unless you want to tell me what to look for as to who to send it to.
oh
Either
no,
one's fine.
I'll send you everything. The other
I
part I
knew
was
it.
trying to
I knew
tell
it.
you was
Yeah,
that
I know it. Yeah, I know it.
it not only who you're sending it to, but that's why I want to talk to other people I know too, because we want to make sure you send it to the right people. Like, and by that I mean
The right
maybe
people.
maybe it's a Democrat who is very pro independent contractor and crosses the party lines across the aisle. Because in the end, it doesn't matter. It's how many people can they get to prop up the bill. I don't give a shit what their political affiliation is. You know what I mean? Like I care on this topic where they stand.
Oh, 100%. It doesn't matter what side gets the bill done. If the
Right.
bill
Because
gets
I
done,
actually believe that a lot of people
yeah, I
are
agree.
actually not what they claim to be. Like they ran as a Democrat, but it's like, dude, you're not even independent. You're pretty Republican
Yeah,
or vice
well,
versa. Like, just
we got some rhinos here in Kentucky and Ohio.
right. I mean, people who really want to run for what will win in that district. If you live in a district that votes 80% Democrat and you're a Republican, you're just going to be go in and hiding and get in. So I've seen this happen.
Yeah.
But and back to the point of Bobby though too, on the tip before I do move into this is that I don't care either. I mean, here's the thing. I've already seen like in California if this 1340 thing goes through, this asshole idiot moron move they're doing with the unions. I was saying the other night that, wow, because Karen Anderson pointed out these people, the Supreme Court said no to challenging it, but in that same no, they solidified Prop 22 for life. And so then they moved to the 7th district with Judge Raich, who is known to just kind of flip anything for anybody that doesn't make sense. Very California. And so he said, okay, well, it's unconstitutional that you guys can't organize. Really? Because AB 5 was put out and then Prop 22 was voted on. 60% of Californians voted yes on Prop 22 to be able to keep them independent. Now you're going to go back to him and go, it was unconstitutional. Really? But anyway, if that all, it's on Newsom's desk now, it's passed all the houses. If he signs it starting on January 1st, they will be unionized. And here's the part that Karen brought up, because I've always said, we've all have seen comments from all of us. Unions don't belong in this space. But the funny thing is that Karen knows this part inside and out. She lives in California. She was destroyed by AB5. She's very smart. And she said, the problem with this is she said, you can't, excuse me. She said, first of all, you can't unionize gig workers. She said, but beyond that problem, if they do find this way to do it, Uber and Lyft had said they'd keep approximately, if they did stay in that, and we don't even know about the delivery companies, 20% of the 1.4 million gig workers. That means around 280,000. That puts about 1.12 million people out of work in 1 minute. But then they all get unionized. So somebody actually asked me, do the unions charge? Dude, what? Of course they charge. That's that's all they do.
That's
So
all they do.
that's all
Well,
they do, man.
where would the money come from? From a driver's base pay or from his tips for a union fee?
It'll just come. It won't matter. It'll just come out of driver's pay.
But I was asking, like, which
They'll
one?
treat it like cash on
base
delivery.
pay?
It'll just come out of your pay at the end.
Yeah, I mean,
End
in
of
fact,
what? The day or the
it
week,
might
or-
even, who knows, dude? It might be a line item in this case because it's so new and hybrid.
Okay,
It might
yeah,
be
yeah,
on
that's
every damn receipt. Like, oh, there's your union fee on this one, this one, this one.
Yeah, I
Well,
could see
I
them
like
doing it
that.
like
That's
a
a good answer.
percentage.
Line item. Yeah, line
But
item.
here's the crazy part. For those that do know or don't know, why do you have a union? Even the people who believe in it, why do you have a union? To fight for better pay and worker rights. Well, those have been solidified by the California Supreme Court, and it's for life that they will have Prop 22. They will have 120% of active time on the apps for minimum wage, which varies from $16 to $20 in California. They will get that for life. That is their payment. So now you're going to pay a union 10, 15% of the money you make, and they can't even negotiate. I mean, you might as well not even have a rep because you're going to go to your rep and go, what can we do? And he's going to go, nothing. The pay is solidified, and you can't strike because that is the pay and we can't change it. So there's nothing I can do. Well, why are you taking money from me? Because your dumbass let me vote or voted for this. You're that stupid. I mean, that really is what it is. I mean, I've talked to other people about this too. There's no way. I mean? There's no way around it, though. There's nothing that a union can do. First of all, it can't represent gig workers. So if they allow this messed up hybrid, well, what's the union going to do? I mean, if anybody like Brian, like what could a union do?
Take your money.
Right, but what could they do in this case if it's solidified that this is the pay? You can't fight for better pay.
But how long does the contract last? How long does the contract last in the union? I know they have to get a new contract.
This is law that they are allowed to be unionized. Then they only have to, and then that's the crazy part. Whatever if the numbers that are estimated are correct at 280,000 of the 1.4 million are able to remain working, they need 10% of the active workers on gig app platforms to make the unions or to allow the first union that can gather 10% of the active users or active drivers on all the platforms, then everyone in California has to be in the union. The 90% votes doesn't count if the 10% can be reached.
Ouch.
Like in Massachusetts, they're actually doing the same thing, and they're at like 3-4%, but they've been at it for about 8 months, and they have to hit 51%. Even that in a non-right to work state, even that seems like, dude, that's kind of messed up. Like if I'm in the 49%, I don't have a voice. No, you don't. You have to go with it. But in California, they're saying 10%. As soon as 10% of the drivers say we want a union, the other 90% just have to suck it up and deal with it.
Let me tell you a small story about unions. Yeah.
I'm surprised they haven't already paid enough people to get it done.
Well, I think this is on Newsom's desk right now. It passed the Senate hearing. It passed the House committee. I mean, overwhelmingly too. It's almost like everybody voted.
Now, what union would that be? Would it be the SEIU?
So it'll be the way it's worded is it'll be the first because I didn't even know. Karen told me there's I don't remember the exact number, but it was over 1,400 unions in California. So the first union that wants to take this on and get 10%, they own they now have union for the gig workers.
Wow.
And Brian, I think maybe others don't, so let's say it. You guys like Mike Harubi, his dad died almost 15 years ago. He still gets mail forwarded to his house from his dad's old place from unions. If you ever are in a union, your name is made public record, your address is public record, your phone and email are public record, and union reps are allowed to stop by your house like Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yep. And I was in a union 25 years ago.
Right. I mean, it's just a little too. I mean, there. I don't know. To me, with all the things changing, and with the fact that white collar jobs, 25-30% of them, 50% are going to be gone in just 2 years. Like, I'm surprised unions are even still around. I don't even see how you could revamp it. But let's go through this to see what you guys got for. Because I did hit all the sections correctly. So I just labeled it real. This could be called anything, but the draft is just called the Kentucky Delivery Network Company Driver Transparency and Protection Act. That's what I named it. And then section 1 is supposed to be the short title. Like if you were to give it, if you were to say, like if Torp had done all this in his head and wrote it out and he was like, the short title is going to be Torp's Law. Like that's where you could put something like this. But I think you want to be careful.
I was impressed because
I think you need to be careful here and keep it to this, even in the short title, because they're going to change it anyway.
Well, what I'm getting at is that I was very impressed by it because I didn't know that's what a bill even looked like, and then I saw it and it made total sense. I believe I already discussed this with you. I was like, actually, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense, and it's easy for me to understand. So if I can do it, anybody can do it. I'm like, how many people on YouTube, at the very least, have problems that, like, even Bobby was talking about and other people talk about, all these problems. It's like, there is a possibility that you can do something about it. You just didn't know there was.
And
yeah.
You and I have talked about this, Torp, and I don't think it's fallen on deaf ears with Bobby or Brian or all the people. By the way, thank you everybody for joining. I'll see who you all are here in a few minutes.
Oh no, Bobby kills it. I know Bobby. No, but
I think that we're all not.
He's smart.
I think we don't have blinders on. No, I know, and I'm saying I don't think we have any blinders on to know that the other channels don't want to talk about this.
Of course they do.
I have no problem talking about it because it needs to be. Because before I get into my point, I want to make it clear that I'm grateful for the gig guys because the truth is, without them, I'm not where I am today. I'm not in the financial position I'm in, and and my life isn't the way it is, and I'm very blessed, right? Yeah, I'm very blessed. But at the same time,
there's more people that feel like that than people think too.
Right. So, but you got to call a spade, and the reality is that some things need to change, and I hate to step on people's toes, but when you talk about things like unions and gig work, it actually kind of makes me laugh because it's such a ridiculous thought process behind it, and it's so insanely just short-sighted, and just complete lacking of self-awareness. And on top of that, things like Prop 22 or anything even similar, I actually call them the crybaby bills because those are the people that the majority of people that want things like that are the people that came from W-2s and don't understand how this works. It's very simple. This field is not for everybody, and there's no shame in saying it's not for you. There's no shame in saying you failed in going to a W-2. That it's just it's as simple as I can possibly make it. You have to have a certain personality to survive in any kind of independent contractor work, no matter what it is. You have to have a different mindset and not everybody's built for it, and that's completely okay.
I absolutely love the different mindset, because that's what we got to do. But make no mistake about it, in my mind, it's as simple as this. If you got rid of the metrics, you wouldn't even need a mindset.
That's it. And the metric should never have been a thing to begin with. I would personally argue that the only metric that should ever be in your app is customer rating. And the reason I say that is because every job in any part of the world has a customer rating, a satisfaction or whatever, because without customers, there's no us. Correct? In any field, if you don't have customers.
And I agree with you that in some way it needs to come through, but how does it come through? Because you can't be the digital switch operator that does nothing except for hand out off. Like, here, you take this. You're an independent contractor. You go do this. It's your client now. You go do it. If it's my client, why is the complaint going to you? Why, if it's my client, why, when somebody orders McDonald's on Uber Eats, let's say, and not in my market, and is planning to tip bait, if it's my client, why is that person allowed to put a $20 tip on? And then, because it's my client, why are you not running that right away? You should run that card right away and complete that transaction. Close it out. It's done. Because what is this 2 hours after shit? Because the 2 hours after is just made for people. They can say it's for people to add to the tip, but we know that doesn't happen. I mean, it does, but it doesn't happen. What happens is removal. So here in Colorado now, if they try that shit, the way the judge even said it, listen, whatever you sent the driver is what you have to pay them, and it has to be transparent. If you, the company, chooses to say, listen, you know, we allow our customers to take back the tip, that's fine, but it comes out of your money.
Yeah. And honestly, it how do I say this? It's like the thing that is even more mind boggling to me about this whole, like, you know, pulling tips and stuff thing is that, and maybe I'm wrong, but this is just how I interpret it. And a lot of people don't seem to understand this, which again goes back to the whole W-2 mindset that I've been saying, right? Is that every time you take an order, right, that's a contract. It's literally a separate contract from the previous order. So if you complete that order, you do everything you were supposed to, you know, you didn't do any scammy stuff or fraud or whatever. Once that contract is over, you're done. So the fact that somebody can even go back in and alter that contract is mind boggling. Like, it makes how is it legal? Like, I don't even see how it could be legal.
I mean, I've even had people say to me that, you know, like, how do you, like, now we're seeing not as much tip baiting here. And so, like, even the people who used to say, yeah, but all the tip baiting, now I don't hear from anybody. And I'm kind of like, well, if you do, you just can't. Yeah, but I'm not getting tip baited. Okay, so it begs the question: did the tip even ever exist? You know, or was this just Uber's way of going? We don't do it. We don't scam you like DoorDash, but we do scam you this way. We put a fake tip in that we just say the customer removes.
I gotta ask a question, Steve, if I can. It's real easy. It's not long-winded. Bobby just said something about the contract being altered after the fact. This is news to me. What does that imply? Like, there's a contract violation because it's false, or what are you referring to on that?
I think he's talking about because he's seen what he's supposed to be paid. He's seen all the details that whatever he is seeing, and he based his decision.
Okay.
Any kind of Bobby can correct me, but any kind of removal.
No. I was asking a question. I got an answer. There you go.
A breach of contract.
So in other words, if the pay goes down below what you contracted for,
correct,
then there's a problem.
Yeah. Gotcha. So I'll give you an example, right? So let's say that you have a person that is building a wall in a house, right? And let's just say, you know, he gets all the supplies and he writes up the estimate, and the customer said, you know what, that sounds good, let's do this, right? And then he does all the work, and then the customer says, you know what, I don't really like that. Kind of costs too much. I'm going to give you $500 less. That's breaching a contract. And that's almost similar to what's happening with us every time we get tip baited. You're literally breaking a contract that you previously agreed to. It's a legal binding standing.
But do they have a recourse as to saying you didn't fulfill the contract on their end for whatever reason they magically come up with?
Right.
Well, if it's food delivery, how much can you breach the contract? Did I get it to the door? Did I take a picture that you're not even allowed to ask me to do?
Well, look at what these apps do.
Okay,
They're liable to
let's
say
let's roll through these parts, because maybe in this definition will come out the answer. So first we get to definitions. That has to be the first section. So delivery network company, DNC, means any entity that solicits, dispatch, or assigns drivers to perform deliveries through a digital platform. Nothing more than a switch operator company. And in fact, I don't get into the detail of it here, but it should even just have a static number percentage that it does to do the transactions. This dynamic shit has got to go.
Steve,
But
now would that wording also apply to the catering apps and the last mile apps, as well as the food delivery and rideshare as well?
so that's a great question, because here in Denver, um, they're not holding like courier jobs like you and I do a lot of B2B, Brian, right? They're not holding the couriers to this, but they are holding the catering to them now. At first they weren't, because they're saying, no, you're delivering. Really, if they want to get into it, they could do the B2B stuff too. But I think that Brian and I will both agree that although they might not be perfect, all the B2B apps seem to do a much better job, at least trying to be true. I don't feel like they're as scammy. You might not see the best pay on them, but I feel like they're actually trying to be transparent.
I agree with that statement.
I mean, I have a lot of problems with a lot of them, don't get me wrong, but that's different. I mean, you could have a W-2 and hate your bosses, so that's just different.
Well, and another thing, Steve, the reality of this whole, like, to kind of piggyback on what I said a little while ago, is the reality of what this whole situation is that you can immediately tell the difference between a person that understands what needs to be done to correct issues and a person that is basically saying, I can't do it, so it's your job to fix it for me, right? Anytime you're asking for more money, health benefits, vacation time, you're admitting that you're an employee, and you should literally go to any local fast food joint and put an application in. This is black and white. It's you either can do it or you can't. And
I mean,
every time things like this come out, it drives me nuts, especially the union thing. Like, it drives me insane.
Yeah. Oh, the union thing. The union thing shouldn't even. I'm surprised it's even something we're actually talking about, that lawmakers who should know better are actually discussing behind closed doors. I really am, because somebody should be in there going, you do know that right here in the labor code it says gig workers can't unionize. So why the fuck are we talking about this?
Yeah, I don't even understand how a situation like that, like a lawyer can see that and go to that and not immediately just like say no. Like, I don't even understand how this gets to this point.
So everything I've learned is that the biggest problem was that, and I always said this in the beginning, even when you first knew about me, Bobby, is that I've always been saying, why the hell, especially coming from traditional space, why the hell did they never call this the hybrid independent contractor space, so they could write some definitions? Because now they've locked themselves into this serious problem. But so you got the DNCs are all, their digital platforms, their dispatches, they will receive the payments from the consumers for such services. So again, I'm going to keep rolling here, but on that, I want to note that that's again where I'm saying, once an order's placed, don't screw around with it. Don't hold the payment, run it. I mean, you should be anyway, but so, driver means a person engaged by a DNC to make deliveries, whether and I put this in there because I think it's very important, whether classified as an independent contractor or employee. And I put that in there because, like, if people are thinking, isn't that what you're against? It is. But I think that driver definition needs to be in there, because every one of these apps says we're independent contractors. So it needs to say what are we classified in your TOS.
And while I agree that they obviously need to classify, and it should have been done a long time ago, I would also argue that it shouldn't just be W-2 or independent contractor. Those laws are so outdated. Like
Oh yeah.
in the way that stuff is going now, there needs to be a third category. You can call it whatever you want. You can call it hybrid or whatever, but the days of there
So
being just one or
the
the other, that's
bottom line
over.
is, because so many people have so many different ways of saying it, independent contractor, freelancer, all these things. I like Mike Harubi's way the best. He just says, hey man, in the end of the day, they all end up in the same place. You are self-employed. I like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
To me, that makes the most sense. Quit saying that we're hybrid or we're ICs or this or that or the other. Just say we're self-employed, because that's when it comes to taxes, that's how you're paying your taxes, self-employed.
Exactly.
I was about to argue with what you said until you brought that up, Steve. That was a good point. That was a solid point. See, I was about not to argue with you, but to bring something up, and you just squished my point. You completely destroyed that conversation. What you did was proved your point.
I think the
I was
app.
going to argue with self-employed until you said 1099.
Yeah.
Because that's self-employed, and we all know gig workers got 1099s. I don't know what you just did, but it was nothing short of epic, and just killing the whole conversation on how it will be classified, because you just convinced me, and you know me, and you don't 110 see it exactly the same, but that just cleared it up. We're both 1099s.
Well, because you might work for people
classified.
Steve,
exactly.
you kicked it up the uprights. Exactly. You kicked it up the uprights. That's all anybody had to do to make this argument go away.
But I mean, like Brian might work with some people who, in their contract, called him a freelancer. They might be paying him $10,000 for some work. He's not going to go, yo, go back and change this to self-employed or stick it up your butt. He's just going to go, that's fine. I'll take this. Give me the money. I'll sign it. And that's good with him. And then he might have another one that says independent contractor. At the end of the year, when you're tallying, you are self-employed. Tally all your earnings up. Doesn't matter.
That's why
all you had to say was 1099. You had me at hello, Steve. You had me at hello. 1099. That's all you had to do. That's the video that should have been made 3 years ago. Are you at 1099? Define yourself then. What is it? 1099 state?
Self-employed, independent.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Damn.
Steve. Or just self-employed. See below, and then it could just have any, because there's other ones. You can have anything that is independent contractor, freelancer, subcontractor, contractor, blah. It could have all 100 of them.
But they all pay to
that's
the
all
same
self-employed.
place the same way. I love that. Damn, I can't believe nobody brought. I'm not surprised you did. I just can't believe that's never been a part of the discussion.
Well,
unbelievable.
I know I keep sounding like a broken record, but like obviously there needs to be a definition. But just beyond that, like beyond the base level conversation, I honestly believe that whether you consider yourself a self-employed is a complete mindset. You can just tell by the way you move and the way you act and respond to things and how you work. You've already made your decision. If you're a person that feels like the apps owe you something and that like they have to hold your hand and pay you X amount of dollars an hour and give you all these benefits, you've already made up your mind that you're a W-2 person regardless. So it doesn't matter.
You should have made a video about that, Bobby. You should have made a video, because that is absolutely 110 statement what you just said.
But Bobby's right in saying that a lot of these people that came over here
that's all it is.
Have never worked anything but a W-2. So this can be a little bit of a confusing landscape when you're like, wait, I know I'm independent contractor and that means I can work when I want. It means flexibility. No, it doesn't. I had somebody argue with me the other day, like, if we strike, and I said, even the, I've seen these for too many years. I said, even the biggest ones that I've seen, maybe let's call it 100 people to be nice in a big city. I said, that is nothing more than taking a day off. That's all it's called when you're self-employed.
Yep.
You're not striking. You're just taking a day off. And guess what? Other drivers, if they do catch wind of it, are absolutely going to go on the app and work it that day. Oh, cool. These dumbasses are pretending to strike again.
And there's a reason that all these different things you've seen, right, with all these different protests and strikes, there's a reason nothing's changed, because it's common sense. It's not going to. Like that's, when you're a self-employed or whatever you want to call it, like you gave up that ability to be, unionized and having all these rights, and it's expecting handouts and expecting companies to feel sorry for you. Like it's all I've ever wanted from these companies is exactly what they have in Colorado. That's all I want. Just
Yeah.
be transparent, get rid of the stupid games, let me make my decisions without any like guilt or repercussions, and I don't need your money. I can make my own money. Like I can do it
Nope.
my own way. That's it.
100%. So
Simple as
we
that.
move. The next section is payment transparency, and this is a big one. So you know this is where it's you have to put a date in there, but that'll be based on when it's submitted, all that stuff. But clearly disclose both to the consumer and the driver the total amount paid by the consumer and the portion that will be paid to the driver. On the TNC side, in case we don't get to it tonight, because Podbean limits to 2 hours, but it's all written out. But if there's a little more on there because you might see airport fee or this or that. And so there's some other line items. I don't think that as drivers doing delivery, I don't think you need to see anything more than the total the customer paid and how much you're being paid. Anybody think I'm wrong on that one?
I
No,
mean,
sir.
No, I'm
no.
glad you brought it up because I've been noticing since I've been on Uber hard for 6 months now. Hard, like really hard. And I've noticed that I'm getting receipts on the items, like Olive Garden and stuff like that, and it shows the gratuity right on the receipt. So why would like DoorDash hide that from? Not even Uber because it went up. It went up, as you guys.
I'm just
know,
saying, does there need to be? No, it needs to be shown to both. But I'm saying, does it need to have any other line breakdowns? To me, it doesn't.
I mean,
Like,
not that I can think of. Like I said, for me, it's like, and again, this is just my perspective of it, though, is that, like, yes, I believe the customer should 100% have a full breakdown of everything they paid, and we should have a full breakdown of, the tip and all this other stuff, right?
so
But
both are
go ahead.
emailed the same thing after the fact. So you get an email saying customer paid this, driver was paid this, and the customer gets it, and then the driver gets it. And it's not even so much about those emails, it's that every one of these emails, meaning every transaction, 2 emails need to be submitted to the state quarterly because they're using AI to see if there's any discrepancies in the transactions. It was one of the smartest. It was one of the smartest moves ever because you can't. How it always worried me. How would you ever, if you got audited, how would you ever audit Uber or DoorDash? They have so many trap doors and stuff. You would never find the real information.
Yeah,
so now they can find it this way.
Yep.
Let me
And
ask you
that
a
is
question,
why I
Steve.
believe every fee, every charge, everything should be listed on both sides. That way there can be no, we took $1 from
And
here,
that is on the
over
and
here.
that is on the TNC
So,
side if we don't get to it. It
yeah,
has to list everything.
yes, every number should be full transparent, both to driver and customer and company. Everybody should see where every single dollar cent went.
Yep.
I got to ask this question before I bust. Why is it that on Uber and even now on DoorDash that when you take a photo of the receipt, they tell you to throw the receipt away?
Because they don't want the customer seeing it.
That's exact
Well, then why'd you take a
100%. That's
photo
the
of it?
reason because they are trying to do everything they can to let
What's
you
the
have as
photo
little
for?
information as possible. That way you can't be fooled by, because I think we can honestly say that,
Well, then
obviously they've
that's a
been caught a bunch of
breach.
times,
That's a breach
but
because it says right there, send a photo for your customer and toss the receipt.
It's a photo of the bag with the receipt. Though it's not. It's
right.
not really.
No. I'm talking about shop and deliver here. I should have stated that. My bad.
Well, I can just tell you the main reason is because they don't want you to look and realize you're paying 30 to 40% more per item on top of all the other charges.
Well, then again, I ask, where's that photo going? What's it for?
I think it's just for I don't even think that gets to the customer. I don't know.
That's
I think that's
one,
just.
right?
I think it says
That's
it goes
weird.
to the customer, but I would.
I can tell
challenge
you as a person that's used the apps before, if you order something and the driver takes a receipt of the photo, of their order before they leave, that actually does go to you in a message. Now, whether it means anything
Okay.
or not, but it does actually go to you. Yeah, I've seen it personally.
Yeah, so if it goes to the customer, why would we be throwing the receipt away?
I don't know. I've always found that to be very odd and very just suspicious.
Again,
But
I think that they just have done their math and they've done their studies and they've learned that, like Bobby said, even though it does get sent to you, they've learned that 98% of the people don't give a shit and don't zoom in on it and look. So they're like, cool. But they know that if you're handed an actual receipt, it's another opportunity for you to see that you're being ripped off even more.
it's because the more they information they give you, the more likely you are to catch them. Because I mean, obviously they've been caught enough times and been slapped on the wrist with the whole tip stealing, right? I guarantee you, at some point, they have not only been stealing tips from us, but I guarantee that they've been charging things and making it look like something else, and the customer doesn't even realize it. I guarantee that's happened
Oh
at least
yeah,
a couple
yeah.
times.
So then part 2 of this says this is a great one. So I put it as this: prohibit reduction of a driver's base pay due to tip amounts and ensure the driver receives 100% of any tip provided by the customers. This meaning, like here in Colorado, what that means is if you took a screenshot, hopefully, or whatever, and that is not the full amount you're paid. So like the plus is gone on DoorDash. They don't need it here anymore because there can't be a hidden tip. Like I was saying to a lot of people, I used to have to schedule a week out to get onto DoorDash for a few hours. I can get on any time of the week, any day. I'm not a any level dasher. I have always been like Torp was saying, maybe everybody tries to get up the high. I never got to any of the levels, but I'm one of your bottom dashers, and it is now just closest to the pin like it's supposed to be. If a top dasher is a mile away from me, or a platinum or whatever they are is a mile away from me, and I'm sitting right in front of the restaurant, I get the offer. Doesn't matter if it's a good offer. Nothing goes to the platinum people. Nothing special goes to them. Closest to the pin gets it. End of story.
Well, see, you know what, Steve? Remember when I was talking about the mentality of the how you feel with the W-2, right? Well, it's the same thing with the wording. See how they like to use weird wording and mess with people and make people think something's real when it's not, right? So the thing with the whole the scheduling and the top dasher program and all that, right? It's all just a big giant mind game, and like they take advantage of the people that, I hate to say it, but the suckers. They take advantage of the suckers that fall for the games and the little gimmicks and this and that, and they're always trying new ways to get people to take crap, and they're always going to try to do it as long as they're allowed to do it.
And that right there is why they hate transparency.
Yeah.
That's why they fought it harder in this state than just when they hear about Prop 22 and 100% of minimum or active time, which I don't believe in. But when they hear about that, they again, I was saying this the other day, they always make it look like everything is a loss. Like, okay, I guess we can do that. But dude, they're laughing their asses off when people want a Prop 22 because they're like, you're saying that you need 120% of the minimum wage in your area for the active time you work on this platform. Okay, done. Guess what? We, the people that you're just basically suing and forcing hand on this, control your fucking active time.
Yeah, and that is very, very.
You're just a moron, dude. If that's what you want.
Again, that's why I say anybody that wants things like pay and vacation time and all, it's a short-sighted fix to a big problem, because it's most people, they thrive off of emotion, right? And I've done this before, so I'm guilty of it, right? Where when you're down and out, sometimes it's easier to throw a hissy fit and ask for a handout versus doing it the right way and fixing the things that you can fix and fixing the things that should be done. And every single time, like the Prop 22 thing, like I didn't know about it at first, but the more I hear about it, it's crazy to me how people ever thought that giving control over a company, knowing that all they have to do is just at any point they could just put something in the algorithm that says, "Oh, after 2 orders, you're going to shut this driver off for 2 hours." And it's crazy, man. Like that whole active time thing
Well,
is insane.
in the beginning, I mean, and again, like most things, it's not just California guys, but a lot of these things get
Right.
enacted, and if people aren't on top of it and handling it correctly, like look at what happened for the first 2 years of Prop 22, is that they tried to do it in state, but everybody was dirty stacking. Therefore, you could be paid an active hour for 3 hours during one real hour.
Yep.
Because you could take an Instacart, you could take a Grubhub, you could take an Uber Eats, whatever, and you could do them all in the same hour. Make the time lag really pull it out, and maybe it's not exactly 3, but you're being paid 2.5 2.5 times 120% of minimum wage. Well, now that's handled by Argyle IO, and not only can you get deactivated, if they catch you doing it on multiple occasions, that's the biggest data handler in the country. But if they catch you, they can press criminal charges against you now.
I got to roll, Steve. I just want to give my respects to the program and tell everybody, hey, what's up? I had a great time. I got to roll.
Okay, because I'm going to run through the rest of this. So,
all right, boss. Thank you.
But the contract transparency and accessibility. So provide any contract or contract revisions to drivers both via digital platform and email. Present contracts in plain language and make them available in at least English and Spanish. And here's a big one that I think is very important. Any changes or revisions to a TOS need to be sent out 14 days in advance. It can't be a click here on your lunch shift and then you've just agreed.
Yep.
I mean, that's a big one.
Absolutely. You need time. It can't be, oh, I'm going to start. Hurry up. Do you agree to this before you can go make money?
Yeah. I mean, I understand most of us don't read the TOSs anyway, but the point being, if it was 14 days, a few people do, and maybe those few people get the word out to some people like, hey, did you know that in this update they're doing this? And maybe it kind of just gets a buzz before it. But then, so moving on to the deactivation policies and appeal process. So drivers disclose to drivers its deactivation policy and any updates with clear notice at least 7 days before enforcement. Provide a written reason upon deactivation, and establish an internal appeals process for drivers to challenge deactivations decisions and seek reinstatement. And in Torp's case for Kentucky, require the Kentucky Department of Labor to certify a driver support organization, a DSO, to assist drivers with deactivation appeals. The way this works is that you would have the DNCs or TNCs in whichever one it's falling into. The DNCs in this case would pay a fee of 7 cents for every completed task or transaction into the fund, and anything that's not needed by the DSO would be paid back and balanced out every quarter. So if you're wondering what that is, it's the DSO is allowing a group to, because like we learned that not as many people challenged deactivations. Now, was everybody lying about wrongful deactivation, or did DoorDash and all the others realize, yo, those games we play where we deactivate 1,000 people a day, we got to knock that shit off right now because we're under the gun here.
Or maybe those people that got deactivated went and got a job because they were just fed up and they just said that was the last straw. They didn't need it anymore. They were done with DoorDash, so they didn't care.
Yeah, but it's different here in Colorado. When you're deactivated now, it's not whatever that screen is that just comes up and says fuck off or screw you. It actually has a screen that says you will be receiving an email about an issue. You've been deactivated. Do you wish to challenge it? If you click yes, it's sent to the 12-person review board.
No, but boom. I mean in other states, if somebody got deactivated and they're just like at their wits' end, they were struggling already, and it's like, screw it, it's time to get a W-2, and they just didn't care to fight the deactivation, and it was a wrongful deactivation, but they were just done.
Well, I would, and this is a bit of a semi-controversial statement, but I would
But
say
maybe
that
they should have been done as well.
I would say the majority of people that get deactivated is because of something they've done.
I've said the same thing a million
I'm
times.
not saying that there isn't unfair in deactivation. I'm sure there is. I'm sure people are going through. I would say, but
Yeah.
for the majority, you have done something. And I said this the other day, myself included. We all do something every day that violates TOS, and even if you don't realize it, we all do it.
Yeah,
I know
or
I do.
somebody. Yeah, I mean, but I would agree, man. Like, if I had to wonder that too. Like, because we don't know the numbers of before the law. We just know that I know so far this year, since the law went in effect January 1st, there's been 156 deactivation challenges, and there's been 147 that were overturned, meaning that you were put right back on. So there was only like 11 people that were truly deactivated correctly.
There you go, Bobby.
But I'm wondering if
Every
that
morning when I
number.
start my shift and I turn on GridWise, it tracks my apps and all that, and apparently that's against terms of service. So
Yeah.
I immediately break terms of service when I start my shift
Yeah,
and track my
and
miles.
you know what? And you know what, Brian? The thing to me is there should not be anything that you're not allowed to use to help you as long as it's not
Malicious.
as long as it's not malicious or it's not any sort of fraud or it's not hacking into information and stealing codes out of the back end.
Yeah,
You should be allowed to use whatever you want to make your job easier. It's crazy. Like I can't imagine somebody telling a painter, well, I know you really want to use this tool, but we're going to make you use this one instead, and let's just hope for the best. Like I just can't imagine that.
yeah. So I mean, I'll use the mapping one because that one's an easy one. Every TOS says you can't use other maps. I know that Lyft removed it just a few weeks ago, but most apps have, which mapping app do you want to use in the damn app? But in their TOS it says you can't use any of them.
Yeah, I use the map in my head, so that's kind of out the window.
But I'm saying you can set
Oh,
Uber to be Waze, but it's like you can't use any app outside of our app, and it's like not only can I do it, I can do it in your app.
Yeah,
Yep.
I actually don't use any in-app navigation. I've had too many times where they're wrong, take you to the wrong house, the wrong street. I
Right.
just use
I guess
Google
my
Maps for
point is
everything.
though, it's in there.
Everything.
It's in there. It says you
Yeah.
can't use other. I mean, again, I'm just pointing out how bad the TOS is. It
Yeah,
says
they
you can't use
contradict
other mapping,
themselves.
but it knows all their mapping sucks. It knows they can't compete with Google. Why are you reinventing the wheel? Google owns you on mapping.
Yeah, I don't even understand why that's an issue. Like, who cares what we use as long as we get there, the customer gets their stuff, and everything goes honky donkey. Who cares what map I use? Does that really matter? Like,
No, in fact, they should want you again. The first point of contention becomes the A prong, where it's, are you free and clear of the company, of the hiring entity, from how you're doing the job, the way you're driving, how you're doing it, like anything, any of the tools you're using, whatever. That they're not even supposed to know what you're doing. It's your client.
yeah,
But
yeah.
so
That's why I said there's a lot of hypocrisy and conveniences based on what works for them. It's very all over the place, for sure.
yeah, so we have enforcement and remedies. So the Kentucky Labor Cabinet, as it's known, shall develop rules for enforcing an act. The violations would result in an administration fine of up to $500 per violation. That money goes to the state to offset any of the money that'll be needed for any bill. And then 1,000 on each side that doesn't match up. So if like Bobby's the driver and I'm the customer, and our receipts don't match up at the end of the quarter, that's $1,000 on each side. That's $2,000 plus the 500, so it's 2,500 per instance that if they tried to shave off $1 or scam $1 by those not matching up, they have to pay $2,500 instead.
Well, and that's how it should be. But the only counter argument I would to make to that is what about clerical errors? Like, I mean, I'm sure that
I'm
happens.
sure they're
So
gonna look at all of them. I mean, any of them where they're like, you violated 1,000,000 or 100,000 times in 2025, they're gonna
right,
have some
right,
accounting team and AI and stuff going through that, going, let's make sure we did.
right, yeah,
I mean, we know they have these people, and we know they have the AI to do this in quantum seconds. So I mean, whatever, dude. If they can gamify us, they can check their accounting. Like,
yeah, 100% for sure.
but data reporting, DNCs must submit quarterly reports to the Kentucky Labor Cabinet summarizing data on driver pay ranges and tip distributions, number of deactivations, and appeal outcomes, because that helps their oversight committee. And in a short version, it helps improve transparency.
Yeah, I got to tell you, all of this stuff needs to come to my state for sure.
I mean, this is just bullet point. I mean, this is just pretty generic out of the box. I mean, this is appropriation. There is an appropriated from the general fund to the Kentucky Labor Cabinet an amount sufficient to support rulemaking and oversight for this act. Again, some of that money that from the fines comes back into this, but we found in Colorado that they asked for $200,000 for these bills, and that's not much when you're talking about bills. But in the like already, if we're on track for the year right now, it's going to be around 130,000. That's all that's going to be needed. And if you think that's all, like, that's not much when we're talking about this stuff.
No, that's not too bad, honestly. So
I mean, because you do have to get to the point of like, well, who's paying for the people to check? There you go. It's going to be about 130 grand in this state. We have about 6 million people, so you can do the math based on the people you have in your state.
yeah,
But effective dates. So you select sections related to disclosure, contacting, posting, and deactivation policies become effective 6 months after enacted. Remaining provisions become effective on January 1st of the next year. The reason that I'm mentioning this and the reason I put it in there was because we got 2 of the 4 things through. We got complete transparency to the customer and the driver, and we got the human review of deactivations. What we did not get, but it's coming in next year, is the complete removal of metrics, as well as the allowance of third-party apps. And to the point that both of you guys were making, that um you can't, it can't be something bad. You can't be attacking the company, you can't be scraping, you can't be doing this. But if it's something that helps you get your job done, you can absolutely use it.
yeah, for sure, for sure. Because like I said, it's crazy that is even a thing. And I know that they have like legal teams and all that, but it's like I don't even understand how like legally they can tell you what you can and can't use when you're not defrauding, you're not decoding, you're not doing anything illegal. It's just it's wild.
Yeah,
So
so I've got, I you have to look at the legislative calendar. I already looked at Torps, and for Kentucky, the House meets on Mondays for the transportation and work advocacy. That's who you need to go hit up. If that goes to that level, and same thing on the Senate side, they're on Wednesdays. And then so cons- building your advocacy and your gig workers, we're going to use Michelle Sleet on this because she runs the 2 largest DoorDash groups on Facebook. She has over 250,000 users. So she will Michelle and I are great friends. She'll give me all the data I want. Like, so how many Kentucky drivers do we have? And then she'll just put a post up saying, hey, are you okay with us putting just your email onto this? And therefore we'll have a lot of backing in any state. The fiscal stuff I just was showing, it'll be very minimal, especially for something like this. And then reaching the right people. This is where you just can't go, okay, yeah, let's just send it to the person who's most Republican and business minded. No, this is where you need to find the right people who have bipartisan support. And luckily, I know a good amount of people who can help with that almost in every state. Like, who are the friendlies that we can hit up here? And they'll say, this guy, a lot of names I don't even know. And that's who we want to get this to so that they can go to both sides of the aisle and say, look, this is one we don't need to argue about. Because as much as it is, people might not believe it, it looks really good if once in a while across the aisle does something good.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, like I said, I don't see how anybody could argue against this when it's not asking for money, it's not asking for anything other than just basic rights as an independent contractor. That's all it's asking for. That's it.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
And yeah, it's asking for basic rights, and it's saying that it's also letting, I've said this before, that a lot of these states don't know that, like, they hear about Prop 22 and they don't see the Trojan horse that the union has behind the building. And they're like, okay, so this just pays them well. And then they're also told this is what every driver wants to it. And in every survey we've looked into, Seattle, California, when we've looked into these places, it's under 5%. And it's usually not even close to that were the ones that wanted it. They were just the voices making noise saying, we want to be union employees. My challenge is I don't think that they do. I'm going to be honest. I think the people who are very professional about this they're not at all planning on sticking around once the unions are there. Like, I know some who are straight up shills who are paid to be by unions to go out and create problems and get drivers engaged in something that will only hurt them.
Yeah. I mean, like I said before, you know the difference right off the bat. If you're pro union in this field, you don't belong in this field. Straight up, like, that's it. It's that simple. So
Yeah. And I think, when you said that, that a lot of people just have the W-2 mindset, I would even go back to the fact of, like, I know that it's a little different. And even a lot of the reportings coming out from, like, Rice University and things that I've been reading lately are starting to word things a little better. So it makes a little more sense of what's going on here. But if you do look up, like, the traditional aspect of independent contractorship or self-employment or entrepreneur or business owner, or whatever the hell you're talking about, go look at how many people failed. Go look at how many, they don't talk about a base pay or a tip. If anything, they might not be paid for 3 years.
yeah.
A person starting a true business, I mean, you're putting in 100 hours a week. If somebody were to be like, well, what's your hourly? You'd be like, dude, I have my own business. I have no idea.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, like, I know it's not the same thing as, like, what I do. Obviously, I don't, like, own my own business, but at the same time, like, you have to be very self-driven. Like, you can't just be looking for handouts and somebody to fix your problems. It's crazy. Like
I
I
think
just
that's
don't
what
get
I'm
it.
getting. That's what I'm trying to say is that, like, I think a lot of people think, but that's not us. And part of it I agree with. No, it's not exactly you, but it is. Like, you need to be, if this doesn't work for you and and you're like, I've tried every app. And if you're really being honest with yourself and everybody else and you really have, maybe it just isn't for you. I can't tell you the amount of people I saw coming in out of the service industry that just had no. Some of them stuck it out too long. Some of them stuck it out a day and were like, this isn't for me. And I would have been, I didn't want to be mean, but I'd be like, oh, I saw in the first 10 minutes we were going to be firing you. I was hoping you'd quit. Like,
Right? Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's just like
and that
some people just are not built for things and they don't know till they try it. And
it's
here
too
I
much.
feel like
It's too much of a pride thing. That's what it is.
but pride in what? I mean, like, you tried something, it didn't work. Like, if you've
No,
already had
I
a
know, but
W-2
pride.
job, just go back to it. Because the people who are complaining now are like, man, I did better. Okay, well, then go back to it. There's a
Because
reason why you left it. You tried something new. It didn't work. The people start businesses all the time and they fail all the time.
Because I think too that people have a false sense of reality of what this job entails. I think most people, and yes, on a base level, like what we do is very simple, right? But behind the scenes, like people are so used to, their taxes automatically coming out. It's just simple things they don't think about, right? Like their taxes coming out, or they don't think about having to put money aside for new tires or whatever. They're so used to everybody just doing it for them and then basically clock in, clock out, right? There's nothing wrong with that. I was a W 2 for a big chunk of my life, for a long time before I
Oh yeah.
started doing it. So I have nothing but love and respect for every W 2 worker, because without them, I don't make money. So, I have mad love. But you can tell, there are some people that when they have W 2, you can just tell no matter what they do in life, they're going to be successful. And some people are just better off clocking in and clocking out. No shame in it. It's just all a mindset. And I think a lot of people think they're entrepreneurs when they're really not. And that's just the truth.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. And I was trying to say this recently that listen, if you're doing this stuff, this is, I mean, like, okay, Mike Drop Barbecue, Jeff's a friend of mine, and he talks about like he used to just kind of subtly do it. Now he's just straight up like, do you do Uber and Lyft? Cool, because I'm gonna teach you how to steal their customers. Like he's just
Yeah.
like straight up about, and I mean, my point is, you are an independent contractor. If I was still doing a lot of rideshare, I would be optimizing that. I'm not for any of like the tricks or here's how you scam this app. But at the same time, you know what I mean? Like if it's gotten to a point where even in their terms of service, you're an independent contractor. If you have a QR code on the back of your car, on the back of your seat that says I do private rides, that's up to you, man. And I guess it's, my point being there, that's not for everybody. But again, it's an exposure of there's apps out there like Hum and other apps that are rideshare apps, but you have to build your clients like a dumpling.
Yeah,
you
like
know and
dumpling.
and,
Yeah,
ag-
yeah.
and again, kind of points out to people, are you like, if somebody get a lot of most people get on dumpling, they're like, dude, I wasn't sent any clients. I'm like, you won't be. I mean, maybe through marketplace, maybe one or two, but you got to go find your clients. And they're like, what? And that's when I'm really alerted to the fact they don't have a clue about being their own boss. Cause I'm like, man, you're like, but if I go on DoorDash, I just get sent offers. Okay, so you're saying if you show up for work gives you bad offers. I'm saying if you create your work, you set the rules and the prices.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But it's just it's, I mean, again, and I understand dumpling can be hard, but it's a big sign usually too that somebody's like, man, wait, they don't have any clients on there. Like, yeah, see, that's just if you, because if this is what worries me, is that people are waiting right now, even like, well, I keep hearing about summer slowdown, but I'm new. I'll just wait till the apps are booming again. Like, I know you do well on the apps. I do well on the apps I work. Learn your markets, but don't think that a big boom of food deliveries coming back. Like,
Right.
it's just not.
Well, I think the thing too is that too many people, and again, this is like it all it's amazing how everything I say all falls back to a W-2 mindset, but how a lot of people have, like, they put themselves in a box, right? And I know people personally that do this, and they'll come to me and they'll be like, "Hey, I'm struggling. What do I do?" And I tell them exactly what to do, and then they're like, "Well, I don't want to do this. Well, I don't want to do this. Well, I don't want to do this." Right? It's the amount of people that limit themselves to just one thing or one specific subset of things. It's crazy, because it's like you're limiting yourself, and I never understood that logic. Is like, if you have the opportunity, right? I guess maybe because me, like, when I'll give you like a food reference, maybe me, I'm the kind of person that I want to go to a buffet and have like 20 different choices, where some other people might want to go and just eat one meal off a menu. That's not my thing. I like to have variety, right? And
Yeah.
the more variety you have, the easier you make your life, the quicker you can make your money, the quicker you can do other things in life, and you don't have to, literally get up and work 12 hours every day, never take a break, always worrying about paying a light bill. It's all like the lack of accountability that most people have. It's really what it is. It's that people can't accept that most of your issues in life are because of the choices that you make on a daily basis. That's the
Yeah.
way it is.
I tell people all the time, like the numbers different for everybody, but for me, I'm shooting for, as I head into my not older years, because I'm still in great shape and everything, but as I move on in life, like I want 10 streams of income. And in a perfect world, whatever number you pick, you want those to be even streams. You want to have 10, like maybe for somebody else it's only 5, or maybe it's only going to be 4, but even if it's 4, it's 25% per stream. On mine it's 10%, because if I'm even just multi-apping, if I'm multi-apping on 10 apps, but I'm on DoorDash 95% of the time, and I haven't turned Instacart on in 3 months, and I haven't done, I don't know, I might turn it on, it might have an issue, it might need an update, it might have like, wait a minute, you might get flagged for something. So my point is, if you're like, well, I am on 10 apps. Yeah, but you're not distributing your streams of income. Like for me, I have different ones too. They're not just gig apps, but I don't want any of my streams to be like, I wouldn't want to have 10 where one of them's 50% and the other 9 are the other 50%. Because if I lose that one, that can screw my whole world up. Whereas if they're all 10%, I can lose one and just replace it.
Yeah, and I think another thing that I've said for a while, and hopefully somebody picks up on this, is I think the reason that a lot of people struggle is because instead of doing what I do, they how do I say this? They work the app that they think is the best instead of letting the market dictate what app they work. I know that sounds a little kind of backwards, but
No,
that's what I
it's
do every day.
true.
Every day I go out, I don't go out and say, "Oh, I'm going to work DoorDash today." Now, unless there's some kind of promo or whatever, right? But like other than that, I go out and I allow my market. I turn everything on and I let the market dictate where I go. Some days it's shopping, some days it's this, some days it's that. It's never the same, right? And I
Yeah.
think if people would just do that instead of saying, "Oh, I have to do this," you know your market better than anybody. Just let the market dictate. I promise you it will be different every day, and most of the time you can be successful if you allow that to happen versus boxing yourself in.
Yeah.
It's not a hard concept.
Yeah. And that way I could actually, and in that situation, I could actually accept the answer from somebody about active time if they were being honest. Cause if they're like, if they're like, well, I was active on DoorDash for 3 of 10 hours today, I'd be like, but you were multi-apping. Yeah. Okay. So how many hours did you left the house and you came home in the house in the same door and you were gone for exactly 10 hours? How did you spend all that time? How many hours were doing nothing?
Yeah, like
Because
I'll give you an
the hours
example.
of nothing kind of also tell me that you're really not hardcore multi-apping. Because, and again, people who start a business, they learn from it. So if you're gonna do all these apps, if you're gonna do just 2 apps, whatever you're gonna do, you, hopefully you're learning that you don't need to sit out there for 10 hours in 100-degree heat. There are some times in the
Yeah,
day you can come home. It's going to be
yeah,
dead.
I
It's not
actually
even
do
worth
that.
sitting out there and running your gas.
I actually do that because living in the South, like for people that don't know, like if you live anywhere from like Texas to Florida, the southern heat just hits different. So if you live there, you get it. But if you don't, like or if you've never been there, it's another level during the summer. And yeah, I won't sit out there if I'm not making money because I'm not only am I wasting gas, but man, like you could have that AC on full blast and you feel like you can't breathe. But I'll say
But
like me, like I'll use myself as an example. Like when you were talking about the money, like today, right? Like the whole active and dash time or whatever you want to call it, I don't even bother because like I multi app so much that none of that would ever line up. But like today I started at like 6 a.m. minus an
Mhm.
hour lunch for coming home, and I stopped around 6. So you could say that's if you take the hour away because I was home, that's 11 hours, right? And that's what I say. Simple as that. I worked 11 hours. I don't care about how long I
When
sit,
did I
blah, blah,
walk out
blah.
the door? When did I get home?
Yeah. And out through the entire day. And, some people could say, oh, you just had a good day. Well, it's pretty consistent because of the way I do it. So I work basically 11 hours. And out of those 11 hours, I might have had 10 hours and 40 minutes of working and 20 minutes where I was doing nothing. I'd say that's a pretty good percentage.
Yeah. And this is where I get to where what you were saying too. Like, listen, all of our lives are a little different. And I know a lot of people are playing the flexibility isn't everything these days and we need better pay. When I hear better pay, I hate that because I'm like, even multimillionaires want better pay, you idiots.
Everybody wants better pay.
Yeah,
Of course.
right. I'm like,
human.
even the people who don't need more money always are like, I need to make more. Everybody wants more money.
Yeah.
The greediest of greedy want more. They're not. We sit here and say things like, "Why doesn't the 1% help us?" And they're like, "Why am I not making enough?" Like their mindset is so whack.
Yeah, and that's when I go back to the mindset. I like I said, I feel like a broken record that I just keep going back to the same thing. But it's there are too many people out there that can't just accept that either they are not built for this or their market's not built for this or whatever. And instead of pivoting to something that works for them, they just continue to do the same thing over and over and over and expecting something to get better when the truth is, if it's that bad for you, it's probably not going to get better. And you need to make a move that's best for you, whatever that is.
Exactly. But this is where I say about the flexibility. It's like, for me, it's key right now. My dog's getting a little older. He's losing his eyesight. I take some of the slow down hours after I do my curries in the morning. I come home for an hour and a half, which I wasn't doing before, and I spend it with him. I literally hang out with him. I'm teaching him the backyard all over again because he actually is getting pretty good at maneuvering now, but he was running into too much shit. So I'm having to do stuff like that too. Like, that's something you can't do that with a W-2. This is me and it's not, I'm not complaining about why am I not paid to help my dog. Like, no, dude, I'm taking time off. I'm working early morning and then going back out, but I'm coming home in the day, which is a perk. And if tomorrow I decide I don't want to work and I think scheduling should be removed in all the metrics, but if I'm fully amped up and ready to work multi-apping in the morning and right now at night I decide, you know what? I'd rather go hang with some friends tomorrow. That's an ability that nobody has with a job. So this flexibility should never, ever, ever be overlooked. It is and I'm with you, Bobby. Like, to me, I have some issues with these apps, but in the big picture, they have done nothing but help me.
Yeah,
and they've actually
that's
helped,
what I'm saying.
and they've helped my personal life through some things. Like, we're all different, but like, I've been through some really tough shit where without these, I might have been very screwed.
Yeah, and honestly, like, I know they get a bad rap because they do a lot of shady stuff, and the media that gets on them for things, not the media, but like the public perception, it's warranted because of some of the scummy stuff they've done. But I think at the same time, you also have to give credit where credit is due and realize that a lot of us that do this full time, or you've done it full time, or even part time, like, without that, it's like you have to also be grateful because I think too many people, another big part of why maybe they struggle in this field is because they're too emotional. And if you take the emotion out of it, right, and you just think logically and say, hey, they're not out to get me specifically, or, oh, they're not trying to specifically screw me over, that they're running a business. And that at the end of the day, their business is to make as much money as they can for their bottom line and for their shareholders. That's just corporate America, right? So
Yeah.
I don't get upset by things like, yes, do I want transparency and for, just basic rights that I should already have? Yes, but I don't want them to hold my hand. Don't want them to give me more money. I don't want vacation time and sick time and all that other stuff. I don't want that. If that's the case, I'd go apply at McDonald's tomorrow. Just leave it alone. And I like I like the freedom and flexibility. Like, yeah, that's big for me too. But at the same time, like, transparency should be a thing. Like, the fact that we're even having this conversation and even having to go to these lengths is crazy. Like it's common
because
sense.
it's because nobody ever attacked it. This needed to be attacked right out of the gate. Where the hell's the transparency if they're independent contractors?
Yeah,
But it took what, 15 years? I mean, I know it was 2009 for Uber and about 2013, 14 before they were in every market. But okay, so 10 plus years at least in every market in this country. And the lawmakers are just getting around to some understanding and going, wait a minute, I'm not sure that this is actual independent contracting. And that's causing a shit show that's making them look at all the bad ideas. Hey, look at this Prop 22 over here. It's like they're at a convention and they're walking down one of the aisles.
I think a big issue that I have, and I'm not like a political person, so like I can't even get into all that, the nitty gritty of it, but like just from an outside perspective, I think the problem is that a lot of these like policymakers or lawmakers, whatever you want to call them, right? Like I think that they just have something slapped on their desk and they look at it and go, oh, this sounds good without actually like hearing the majority vote. So that's kind of why, like, when you started talking and I was like, I'm on board with this, it's because, I think the right things are not being looked at. I think they're doing very short-sighted fixes. It's like they're putting band-aids over deep wounds and not realizing that they're not fixing anything. And it just, transparency fixes pretty much every problem. And again, if you can't make money doing this for whatever reason, then go do something else. Like I never understand why people stay and continue.
I even will argue that I think complete transparency actually will help get some people off of the app who are the ones that you and I have agreed make bad decisions.
Yeah.
Because they'll see this, and after they've done a few, they'll be like, wait, now here's all the details. Wait, that doesn't make any sense. I'm not going to do this anymore.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's
because it's all trickery. They know which people take the $2 orders, like we were saying. They know which people are going to do this. So if once they can't do that to you and they have to show you everything and you're like, wait a minute, I've been doing this. This is stupid.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I've always argued that taking $2 and $3 orders, I don't even know how anybody can justify that, to be honest. I don't.
Right, but I mean, this is the point where, okay, you and I live in different cities. My cost of living is extremely high here. It's great. And so I've talked to people in, Nebraska or something who have said, man, you make a lot more in your market. And I've said, I bet you at the end of the month, you have more money in your bank.
That's why I keep on saying the profit versus money. It makes a big difference because, like in my area, right, compared to yours or like Florida or anything, my cost of living is way less. I mean, I can,
right.
There are people, when I tell them how much I pay for the house I live in, they're like, wow, that would barely get us a 1-bedroom apartment here. And I'm like, yeah, of course. Like anywhere you live, the cost of living is going to be either more or less. That's a given. That's why I choose to live here for a big part, because it's affordable. So,
right. I mean, people who do good in the big cities too, and I can make it work to a level and whatnot. But I'm always outsourcing for anything. I'm not just looking for the next app anymore. I have my eyes open all the time. I talk to people. I've picked up a couple private clients for courier stuff. Like I do understand I'm my own business and I do production work too. And now that my son is at college, I'll be probably doing more. So, my whole point is like, I don't know, don't just do DoorDash and then blame DoorDash and then say you need to be an employee of DoorDash and cause all the rest of us problems. Cause we only got 4 minutes left before Podbean cuts this off. But I got to say, if anybody thinks that when like Prop 22 or other things in California go into effect, it doesn't affect the whole damn country, you're crazy.
But yeah, because that money's got to be paid from somewhere.
Right. So like Bobby, the rest of you, we're all paying for California.
Yeah, of course. That's just the way the world works. I mean, that's again, common sense is like, of
You'd be
course, like
surprised how many people do not understand that.
yeah, that's just the way the world works. Is like, of course, every
They're
time
like,
there's a
I don't
bad
live in
decision made
California though.
somewhere.
That doesn't affect me. I'm like, wow. Yes,
Well,
it
they say
does.
that, and then but they don't put two and two together and say, well, wait a minute, my base pay was $3 and now it's $2. You don't think there's a coincidence behind that? Like,
Yeah.
you
When I
know,
hear people talk about, I mean, I've been hearing it for a long time, and probably not as much anymore, but when I hear base pay, like, we just need higher base pay, I'm like, I'm not getting mad at people. I'm just, again, I'm back to what we've been kind of hitting on, is that some people are just minded more at W2, because if you're talking about base pay in 2025, you're crazy. I've actually proposed that base pay be removed, and that the customer, instead of the drip pricing they currently use through the screens to get it, so it takes a while, and by the end you're like, why am I paying so much? I've actually just said, let the last screen, because one of the threats that they have on the table, if too many states go the wrong way, is removing the option to tip.
yeah, that would be bad.
I've
That'd
seen
be pretty
that in
bad.
writing. I've seen that in writing.
That's bad.
I mean, understand that, guys. And like, yes, DoorDash just bought Deliveroo. Deliveroo is not even worth half of what they're paying for it. They're trying to just have a worldwide footprint. Most of the world doesn't tip.
Yeah, well, basically, from the way that I've explained this to people, is DoorDash is slowly just on every level, and if you actually think about it and break it down step by step, you'll realize they're trying to either be the Walmart or Amazon of delivery. They're trying that's big. They're trying to create a monopoly where every single billboard in every area, and they just want to be known worldwide, just like Walmart, just like Amazon,
Yep.
and that's the same thing.
Yep.
They just want their little hand in every single piece of the pie. But by doing that, when you spread yourself so wide, you tend to make a lot of mistakes, as you
Yeah.
can see.
I'm just, as you know, DoorDash was in Australia, Canada, here. I mean, they weren't everywhere at all, like Uber is. But now that they're trying to be everywhere, and they bought Deliveroo in Europe, they are dealing with every other country pretty much doesn't have tipping. I mean, I know that from talking to people in Europe, there is a tipping option in some areas, but they tell me that like under 1% of their money comes from tip.
Well, that's also a culture thing too, because like
But
Americans
that's what
are
I'm saying.
more
Don't
cultured to tip. So.
everybody here don't think that it's above these gig apps to go, you know what? We're going to try this in America. No tipping. How you like that?
I don't know how they, but then I don't know how that would work though, because of the way the culture is built here. Like, I don't know how they would do that.
By putting
Well,
some kind of thing in there that says, our drivers are paid very well, so we've done you the with fees going up, we've done you the service of removing the option to tip. Don't worry, our drivers are paid more than well.
but that's a lie, and that would never hold up. You know what I mean?
Well, I
Like,
mean, I'm just saying something that comes up in the customer app. They're just gonna go, oh, okay, cool, they're being paid well.
yeah, well, it's again, the transparency thing is huge because the amount of people that I've actually spoken to that like think I like when I do Spark and they think I work for Walmart and I have to like explain to them how this works. You'd be surprised the amount of people that have no idea that we're not like employees of
Oh
any of
yeah.
these apps. They're just mind boggled when I tell them. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, Bobby, thank you for joining. It's got the 1 minute warning up. It goes 2 minutes over
yeah,
2 hours and it cuts off. But yeah, this is my behind the scene, no YouTube thing that I do.
yeah. Well, that's great. And like I said, I definitely like I when it comes to technology or any kind of politics stuff, I'm like the worst person on the planet. But like 100%, I wanted to because I've talked for years and I feel like I would be as much as I talk, I feel like I wouldn't be backing up my own words if I didn't jump in because I've said for years that this is what needs to happen. So it's like I saw the
Nice.
opportunity and I'm like, I can't say no to this because it's like